Our first individual question will go to David. Is there anything one can do preemptively to lessen the karma one would justifiably receive?
A very good question.
And I would like to ask you all to stand, because I know, for instance, Todd may not be visible to this part of the audience. So if you wouldn't mind, that would be great.
Okay. So the question of lessening our karmic return, I guess, is there anything we can do? For example, if we make negative causes or create bad causes, is there anything we can do to lessen the bad effect that it comes back to us, which is almost like a law of physics, the cause and effect. We believe in a concept called lessening one's karmic retribution. And there's probably different types of perspectives, even within our Buddhist community, of maybe you create a bad cause. Let's say you steal $500,000 from somebody, and thinking, of course, everyone, we believe, is on this earth to seek their true happiness. Everyone's looking for happiness. And in some way or another, you're making causes, even like being in this room today, to seek your own happiness. And so with that being said, it's just whether you have an enlightenment to how to really become truly happy, or an ignorance to that fact. And of course, stealing from someone only creates a negative effect to one's life, and thus there's an ignorance of not understanding that concept. So you make bad causes because of your ignorance. And yes, then the effect of you having someone steal money from you in the future. So some people believe that when you practice, the Buddhist way, and you start to live, according to that fashion, and understanding this law of cause and effect, and making good causes, that you can lessen the effect of that negative karma that you've maybe committed in the past. I see it in a different light, actually.
We have 30 seconds to tell.
We chant the phrase Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, which is actually the cause, the ultimate cause to manifest our Buddha nature inside. So with this, the greatest cause you can make, once you are able to bring out that powerful state of life, it becomes now that you experience those negative effects in a much weaker form. So I don't believe the $500,000 becomes practicing Buddhism becomes $50,000 or $5,000 or even $5. I believe you'll still receive the effect in the future of $500,000 minus from your life. However, at that point, if you're practicing correctly, all this great good benefit coming from all the good causes you've accumulated, you'll be hit at a time where it will affect you very minimally. So maybe you're now a billionaire. $500,000 means nothing to you, right? And it affects. So I believe the cause and effect, it has to be the same. There has to be, there's no changing of that. But I believe the way you get it later is depending on your life condition. Thank you.
Okay. Father Bill, what is an exorcism? And besides your car, have you ever conducted one or seen one?
As soon as I said that, I knew that'd be right.
Karma.
An exorcism is an official rite within the Catholic Church of driving out the devil from someone who is possessed. It is practiced very, very minimally, rarely in the church today. I think in the past, when we didn't understand the human person and brain, etc., a lot of what we would today call mental illness, people would say they were possessed. I mean, even the word lunatic comes from lunar, meaning moon, and so we're saying that the effect of other things that would call them possessed. Today, if a person would come to me, and I've never done an exorcism, I've been asked to do so, but I don't have the permission to perform it. Every bishop could have an exorcist within the diocese. This diocese has never had an exorcist. It's the Diocese of Las Vegas. But we would have to exhaust every possible human explanation. So they go to psychologists, psychiatrists, all types, because a lot of people just use, that you're possessed, and it's just kind of a catchphrase for you've got a mental illness. obviously the most famous movie was The Exorcist. It was based on a true story. And they did everything fairly well there. She went, the little girl, went to doctors and psychologists and so on. It takes years. If someone came to me today and says, I need an exorcism performed, and if they went through everything, it'd probably be 5 years from now before that would be performed, when everything else was exhausted.
Okay, thank you. Cyndi, if we are poor or sick or lonely, does that mean we've brought it on ourselves by some prior wrongdoing?
No. Not by a wrongdoing, but it means that we can change it through changing our thinking, by creating the positive results in our life that we desire to see. And so by the expectation of abundance and good health and good relationships, we create for ourselves what we expect to have returned, very much in the same way, cause and effect. So.
Okay, thank you. Todd.
Read on.
All right.
This can't be any tougher than the radio on Friday. So.
Okay. Wasn't what Eve did by partaking of the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil and offering that fruit to Adam necessary for humankind to experience the exercise of free will that offers the chance for spiritual development? And isn't she therefore a heroine?
I can't believe I'm expected to answer that. Adam and Eve were posed with two conflicting commandments when they were placed in the Garden of Eden. One was to multiply and replenish the earth. The other one was not to partake of the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And Satan snaked his way in and convinced Eve that the only way to fulfill the commandment to multiply and replenish the earth was by partaking of that fruit, which in fact brought about the fall, which allowed them to leave the garden and then procreate. In a way, it was right. Lucifer was right in tempting Eve, in telling her that that was the only way for her to experience joy and to have children. The problem was it was done out of order, and God would ultimately have presented something so that it didn't have to be done by the adversary. But Eve, in her wisdom, as the mother of the earth, I believe, made a decision and transgressed, did not sin. We use the word transgression to describe the act that she performed, knowing that that was the only way that she'd be able to multiply and replenish the earth.
Okay, thank you. Candace, do you believe that someone can be cursed by another person? And if so, is there something that can be done to neutralize that curse?
No, I don't think somebody can be cursed by another person. I'm also a teacher, and if it were true, my students would probably be upset with me. What pagans do, because sometimes there are people who have ill intentions towards you, and what we would say is that you just put visualize a healing light around yourself, a protective light around yourself, and then do all of the other things that you really should do, which is get a good night's sleep, eat well, exercise, do that kind of thing. Don't make yourself vulnerable to those sorts of things. And one more thought. To the pagans who are here, thank you for coming. We had quite a gathering last night, and I'm looking out and I'm seeing some very tired people.
Oh. Yeah, thank you then for being here. Rabbi, what does the sins of the father is visited upon the sons for 7 generations mean?
We take it as a metaphor. So, if you took it literally, it would be blatantly unfair. It would be that if your dad or your grandfather or great-grandfather did something then you were just as guilty as them. And that's not what Judaism teaches, not even Orthodox Judaism. But yet, when you raise children, you raise them with values. And so there are family values that get extended by a narrative of that family. And so part of that narrative of that family is the history of those who have gone before you. So if someone committed some great crime, they were a gangster before the mob museum, before we glorified it, so to speak, then that person lives with that shame even though they didn't do a darn thing. And so I think the Bible is teaching that you who live today have a certain responsibility to those who come after you, and that part of your responsibility in leading an ethical life is to those who will come up, and therefore you need what is called a shem tov, a good name, a good reputation.
Thank you. I hear somebody wanting to clap out there. Okay. This question is for each of the panelists. What can be done about religious, quote-unquote, leaders who blame hurricanes, earthquakes, and volcanoes on gays wanting to marry or God not liking MTV? I think this is a good question.